And he goes, I just want you to know that I'm really proud of you too, Dad. And I was like, okay, that's cool. What exactly are you proud of? And he goes, you're doing much better as a father. And I was like,
life is like a roller coaster, but it's so much better when we go through it together. Welcome to the Candace Cameron Bure Podcast. We're in a special series with members of the Smallbone Family. In 2023, I got to co-produce and play a small role in the movie Unsung Hero, which is the incredible true story of the Smallbone family coming to America from Australia that hits theaters this April 26th. Now, I don't want to give away any spoilers because I really want you to see the movie for yourself. But these bonus conversations are going to go deep with Rebecca St. James, Joel and Luke Smallbone of the band For King and Country, and their amazing mom, Helen, truly one of the unsung heroes of their family. And we're also going to be answering lots of listener questions in these episodes together, which just might be yours. So today, I get to sit down with Luke Smallbone of the band For King and Country. Luke has won 4 Grammy Awards with his brother Joel. They've generated over 2 billion streams, 10 GMA Awards, 1 Billboard Music Award, an American Music Award. They performed on really every show. I mean, Good Morning America, The View, The Today Show, Tonight Show, CMT Crossroads. Luke is also one of the executive producers of Unsung Hero, and he is with me today. Luke, hi, welcome.
oh, thank you for taking the time. That was quite an elaborate, just listening to all those things. You could have done away with all of those and you could have said, my friend Luke is here, and they probably would have listened, all right?
They probably would have, but like it impresses me, and I love seeing the accomplishments of my friends, and I love being able to encourage and go like, yay, you did awesome. That. So that's why I love reading those things.
Well, since the beginning of our friendship, which we were just being able to just discuss even off air a little bit, you have been nothing but encouraging and kind and welcoming. And we're grateful for that.
Thank you. I think that we need to share with everyone how we did first meet.
Yes. I was actually just telling someone who was getting makeup. They said, hey, so how did you meet Candace? And the truth of the story is, was it your 40th birthday?
It was my 40th
birthday. And we got a call that said, hey, we're trying to do something very special for Candace for her 40th on The View, the television program you were on for a while. And they want you to come and perform. And we were like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And then they're like, and we also want Candace's daughter to perform with you at the song called Priceless. And I think our first question was, hey, can she sing?
Yeah.
And she can. And that was our first interaction together. I think the first time we met was you just on the front row.
Yes.
Coming up, because it was all a surprise. It was all a secret.
A total surprise. All I knew is that they were going to do kind of a birthday episode for me. And they asked me who a few of my favorites were. Yeah. And they said, we'll make decisions based on that. Yeah. And so they said, if you could have any musical guest, who would it be? But maybe give us like 3 to 5 different people in case someone doesn't work out. But you guys were my number one, the number one on the list. And I said, I've never met them, but gosh, I love their music. And I know that they're really great people. And this would be a dream if they would come on the show.
What was so special for us is obviously we hadn't met at the time, but seeing your response, like we were all gearing up for it, like, because you're on the front row, we could see you guys right there, and seeing, and as a dad, I actually got a little emotional watching it, because seeing us come and perform, and you were like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. And then when your daughter walked out, it was just a moment in time that is like imprinted in my head that I'll never forget.
I could get teary-eyed thinking about it because it was. And
it was so special.
Amazing that you guys said yes and allowed my daughter to sing with you, because that's the reality. Well, you're like, can she sing? Can she whatever? But still, like, this is your song. And you're like, what is even happening? We
figured that as soon as it was like, this is what is being suggested. Yeah. I mean, it's not in the View's best interest for this not to go well. So obviously they had to have known that Natasha could sing it.
Well, it was very gracious of you guys. And then it started this lifelong friendship.
I know, it really has.
I'm so happy for.
We're always up for something new, right? We're always something. That was what was cool about that. But I did not anticipate I was, once again, just talking a bit ago about just the friendship we've built with your family, your husband.
Yeah.
I'm more into lifelong friendships than I am almost anything else. Obviously, when you get the gift of being able to work with friends, that's great. But if I can have a conversation with someone and we can become a friend, you never know where those friendships, it leads, but you never know what happens in that conversation, in that friendship that day. And
so true.
Who would have ever known? All these years later, we're getting to do these things together.
I know, and we've done some fun things over the years, and
that's right.
And now we've done a movie together.
We've done a movie. Can you believe that? It's
incredible, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to answer tons of listener questions because that's what we love to do on this podcast. And we get thousands of people that write in, and they just want to hear from my guests. They want to hear from me. I'm like, hey, I want some God influence in my life. Yep. And so I love being able to do that and share that. But before we get there, for the possible, one person that's listening that doesn't know For King and Country.
You and I both know there's many more than one.
I don't know about the people that listen to this podcast. I think mostly everyone will know the band, but can you just give me a brief description?
Synopsis of how we got here?
Yeah, because how long have you guys been, you've been in music your entire lives.
Yeah.
But how long is For King and Country?
So it's been about 12 years officially as For King and Country, but it goes back even further than that. So I wanted to play sports growing up. That was my dream.
Which one?
Basketball. But I was, I played a lot of tennis growing up.
Okay.
And then I got into basketball in high school. And my first year, I'd never played basketball before. And I played my freshman year. And I won like an award of like Player of the Year, Luke Small. And I was like, I've never played that. I'm good at this. I'm taking this as far as this could go. And so the next year, actually, ironically enough, was in and out of town, didn't play as well. But my junior year, I'm like, my junior and senior year, I knew I wasn't like NBA talent, right? But I knew I was like, man, could I get like a scholarship at Division II college and then maybe be a coach? I've always loved sports. Where could this go? And my very first game, my junior year of high school, I tore my ACL in my left knee.
Oh, brutal.
And it was a pretty difficult thing. I think I was 16 at the time, and so you're pretty emotional about being. It's devastating. Of course. And I remember going to my mom and I said, Mom, everybody else in the family's got their thing that they're good at, and they're already doing those things. But the thing that I felt like I was good at, really at the end of the day, what my identity was wrapped up in was sports that's been taken from me. And I said, Mom, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And she said, Luke, by the time you graduate high school, I think there's going to be one thing left for you to do. And sure enough, I graduate high school. A couple months after that, Joel comes to me and says, hey man, what do you think about writing some songs, singing on some demos, and just seeing where music takes us? And I honestly didn't have anything else to say yes to. I didn't go to college, didn't feel like I was meant to. And so I was like, yeah, man, let's just see where this goes.
Wow.
And that was the beginning stages of us developing, For King Country. We were very unsuccessful for about 5-6 years. And then the kind of classic story of one person heard a song that we'd worked on and signed us up to a record deal. And, here we are 12 years later.
That I didn't know. And even watching the movie Unsung Hero, by the way, which is the entire movie is about your family growing up and and making the move from Australia to America and all the hardships that you faced over the years, but then ultimately becoming an incredibly successful family within the music industry and other industries as well. But even having watched the film, like, I thought you and Joel were just always a team.
No, it's funny. It's funny you say that. Joel and I were actually arch rivals growing up. We didn't get along very well.
Are you now? You come from a family of 7 kids.
7 kids.
So where are you and Joel in the lineup?
Yeah, Joel's the middle child, which explains a lot. And then I'm the next under him, but I'm the 3rd youngest in 7 kids.
Okay.
So there's a lot of humans.
Yes.
And yeah, we didn't get along very well. Music was ironically the thing that kind of brought us together. You know, hopefully to any of the folks that are listening that have got, kids who bicker and fight, there's something about these rivalries that are formed in families that you get to about like 18, 19 and you're like, kind of sucks being on the other side of, things now.
Yeah.
Can we just kind of be friends again?
Yeah.
And it like goes away.
Wow.
It just doesn't become a thing anymore because at the end of the day, especially in my family, we were trying to find our place in the family. There's 7 kids. You want attention.
Yes.
You got all those types of things going on. And so, yeah, for us, we didn't get along very well, but it was music that really, really kind of cemented. He's one of my best friends in the world, and it was really
so
that
cool.
kind of brought us together.
That right there has given someone hope listening.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it is. I could say the same thing about my own kids, Yeah. They're just the dynamics and the friendships change when you get older and mature and hopefully it works out for the best, like you guys. I think it has for my kids as well.
You seem like you've got them on the right
they all love
trajectory.
Each other.
That's right.
Really a lot. So let's talk about the movie just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's about your family.
Yeah.
You're not in the movie.
Well, I kind of am, Candace.
Where are you in the movie?
You won't remember this. So there is this, I'm such a good actor, I'm forgettable. All right.
That's not true.
Okay, so
where's your cameo in the movie?
In the film, there's Stryper, right?
Yeah.
I'm the lead singer of Stryper in the movie. But once again, I'm such a good actor. I'm such a natural.
People don't, but you must have had a serious wig on.
I had a lot on. Are you kidding me? I had like spandex. I've got like this flowing mane behind me. I made horses proud. It was quite a thing. Yeah.
But you are an executive producer.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people are like, what does an executive producer do? And what's the difference between a producer and a director?
Yeah.
So tell me what your role on the film was.
I'll give you a little bit of backstory, actually, how we even got to the film. Because what's ironic about it is most people are like, so this is about like you, right? And I'm like, not really at all, actually. Yeah. It has to do with my mom and my dad and my oldest sister. That's kind of what the story centers around. And how we actually got to making the film was, obviously originally born in Australia. My dad was a concert promoter in Australia. And on one particular tour that he brought back, he lost everything on a tour and lost the house, lost the car, lost the life savings, and was looking for a fresh start for his career, for the family. And he got a job offer in Nashville, Tennessee. And he thought it would be a good idea to move his 6 kids and his wife, who was 6 months pregnant, to Nashville. And that's exactly what we did. But soon after we arrived, my dad lost that job. And so we're sleeping on beds made out of clothes. Don't have a way for our little sister to be born in a hospital. Not quite sure where the next meal is going to come from. Didn't have a car. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I was telling that story in concert for a long time. And I had all these people come up and they'd be like, man, you guys should write a book. Fascinating story, inspiring story. And we didn't write a book because the truth is Joel and I were homeschooled. So we don't read or write very well. And that's a joke. Your
mom would be so happy to hear that.
she would laugh as well. So we were like, man, well, what if we make a movie, instead? And so I actually called a friend of mine who I'd worked on another film with before and just pitched him the idea. I didn't ask Joel. I didn't talk to my dad. Didn't talk to anybody.
Oh, so this was all you?
I mean, I had the original idea. I just called a friend and just said, hey, man, I've shared this story. The truth is, I said, my dad's getting a little older. And I want dad to be here, for this film. And I said, I can't. I think films that are worthy of being told are ones that are already working. And this story was already working. It was just our job to go and put it on screen. So anyway, he basically, and you know how this works in the film world, he basically just said yes. Like, we'll do it. And I was like, oh,
that was easy.
Is that really how it works in Hollywood? I need to make more phone calls.
Yeah.
So anyway, I called him, and so we put it into development, and obviously that was soon after when we called you. And yes, to answer your question, a producer, executive producer, you're just putting. In some cases, you're trying to put the thing together. A lot of times I say a director's job is to handle the filming of the actual film. But before you get there, there is a boatload of work.
Yep.
And that's really where producers, executive producers, that's their job. And then on set, you're there and hopefully you're not having to make that many decisions. But if things are really going bad, you've got to get involved, you know? And so in some cases, you're taking the big picture, you're trying to execute, you're getting finances, you're making sure the story's right, you're getting the actors in place. And then once you get on set, hopefully it's the director's job then to go and execute.
Yeah, that was very well said.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Producer is like it's a big puzzle and you just got to put all the pieces together.
That's right.
So I can't wait for everyone to see this movie. Again, April 26th, it's in theaters and we're going to have a link in our show notes at the end of where you can buy tickets, find a theater near you, or maybe even a church too.
Do you remember our first conversation about this film, by the way? When we
on Zoom?
We Zoomed
of course.
You? Yes. I will never forget. For those, for a little bit of context, there was we once again, doing producer things. Yep. It was like, hey, we got to put this thing together.
Yep.
And then someone else came to me and said, hey, what do you think about Candace? And just pitching this idea of her being involved in the film. And somehow I ended up being the pitch guy again.
You did.
And I was just like, hey, Candace, and we got on Zoom. And it was one of those conversations. I remember actually hanging up and walking inside and seeing my wife. And she said, how did it go? And I said, that is one of the conversations where you have all these pitches, you have all these meetings. And there's sometimes you go, you know, that was okay. Or maybe. And I just remember going, no matter what happens, that was a wonderful time. And I enjoyed it. So anyway, you've got something else to talk about.
I feel the same way. It was such a special time.
It was.
And your dad also is like, he's just Mr. Prayer Warrior that I love. And I just feel so, I think enlightened by your dad, but also so protected and prayed over by your dad. He just leads with that all the time. So I enjoy talking to your dad and he was on that Zoom as well. And then we had a good time and I walked away going, man, I want to be a part of this. I really hope the script is good.
That's right.
I really hope it is.
I can see it in your eyes because I'm like pouring out my heart and I'm like, I know if I'm in her situation, I'm saying, please let the material be good.
Yeah. And boy, was it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That was a quick phone call back. Yes.
That was fun.
Let's be a part of this. So I want to answer a few listener questions, but I would love for you to tell our audience about your family.
Yes. So my wife, Courtney, and I, we got 4 kiddos. All right. So Courtney, love of my life. We got married. We got married young. She was 20 years old when she got married. I was 23.
That's like me and
we have 4 kids. I got 11, 9, 6, and then a 3-year-old little girl. All the others are boys. So 3 boys. And then we have a little girl, which is quite miraculous. Yeah.
It is miraculous. And is she super spoiled, protected?
I mean, you'd have to ask other people who she is, but man, she is, to me, she is a delight.
Yeah.
I will do everything I can not to have a spoiled brat. But
not spoiled brat, but I just mean like, is she the princess? Because she's the one girl and she's got 3 older brothers and they
dote on her. They think that
that's what I mean by spoiled.
They think that she walks on water. It's the cutest thing.
I love it.
We call her Sweet Ev. And so her name's Evie. And but everything's Sweet Ev. And it's just been raising kids is, I've often said this, being the title father is my favorite title because without my wife, I don't get that title. So it's it's both of us. And then to have these kids, call me dad and being a part of just shepherding them through life is one of all the things that we've gotten to do. That's my favorite.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Is the boy energy like very I know your daughter's only 3, but is it like you're used to that I just got because of your
I mean, I was brothers. So in my family of like my family of origin, there's 7 of us and there's 2 girls and then there's 5 boys in the middle. So bookend girls. I joke, hopefully other family members aren't watching this, but I was like, my parents got really good at raising boys. All right. It was like they just dialed in. They were tough and they were direct. And so for me, I had 3 boys to start with. I got really into that. It was like, man, you can be pretty dang tough on boys. And you may see them feel it a little bit, but then they they just rally. You know what I mean? It's like they take it and they're like, cool, not super pleased by that. You want to go jump on the trampoline? You know what I mean? Like they just move on.
Right.
My little girl, she is so soft and tender. If I literally go, no, tears. I'm like, I just didn't eat like, you know, I love you and stuff. Yeah. It's going to be okay. It's like, come here. Where's your doll? I'll play with it. It's crying, take it. You know, I'm kidding. But it's very different. And I had a lot of people tell me that it would be very different. I just didn't anticipate, like, I have to be very careful how I correct her.
Be very gentle with her. Because she has a gentle little spirit.
She has a gentle little spirit. And it is a beautiful spirit. And I love it. And honestly, all of the things that people told me, they're like, it's so different. You're going to love it. It's very different. And she is going to be a daddy's girl and just really cherish dad. All of it's true. Yeah. You know, but I thought, I was like, man, I got these boys. I figured a few things out. It's going to be fine. Yeah. And then I had to realize like, oh, yes, she doesn't enjoy, you know, directness in the same way that these other kids do.
It's one of the cool things about parenting is because you're training up these and bringing up and nurturing these little human beings. Yeah. But man, do they teach you so much about who you are and how you can be a better human being yourself. I've
said this. I'm not a theologian, but it's just what I have realized. If you want to be wise, have children. Because they are the foundation of wisdom. Because it's not even about you trying to teach them and to try to teach them wisdom. It's the discovery of wisdom through actually realizing that you're flawed. You're like, the other day, this is the funniest thing in the world. I told my son, he's just gotten like this Gab Watch thing and he can't really text or anything. I've got it so locked down. He can talk to like 5 people on earth, but he can send me voice memos. And so I'm sending, and I can send him voice memos and he can call me if he needs to be. And anyway, we're back and forth sending these voice memos. And I told him, I was like, hey man, I just want you to know I'm really proud of you. And he had just done some really good things and he'd really stepped up as the oldest brother and the boy. And he goes, that's cool. And he sends me a voice memo back and he goes, I just want you to know that I'm really proud of you too, Dad. And I was like, okay, that's cool. What exactly are you proud of? And he goes, he said, you're doing much better as a father. And I was like, okay. So I'm starting to have some fun with this. So then I said, what things are you doing? Am I doing better at, Jude? And he goes, you just become much more lovable and sweet. And I was like, okay, cool. Don't know what was going on 5 years ago, but those are the things. And so my point is you start to see yourself. They reflect you. Yeah. They reflect your nature. Yeah. And like I said, if you want to be wise, have children.
Yeah. I think it was your daughter that has made you more tenderhearted. And now the boys are appreciating it very much.
You're probably right. It was so funny.
That's hilarious. Okay, we're going to get to our first listener question. Yeah. And this is from Tina. It's a pretty easy question. She says, what's your favorite way to spend time with family?
My favorite way to spend time with family. So, you know, we can agree on this. We travel a lot. There is at times, I'm never as busy as people think I am, but I'm also not just twiddling my thumbs, if that makes sense. Yep. And so my favorite thing to do is just be home with the kids and work on the property. So we got some cows. We got some, we farm a little bit. My mother-in-law calls us posh farmers because she's like, you're not really a real farmer. but yeah, we'll go work on the cows and we'll go, you know, we mow our own lawns. So it's like, kids, buckle up. We got to go out there. We got to take care of the property. We have some tractors and things. So teaching the kids to drive these things and just doing all those things. I find that's actually how I refresh and refuel is doing things with the kids. I think sometimes we think that we have to have like these moments with the kids and with our spouses of like, this is, you know, perfect intentionality. Son, we're going to go solve life's problems. We're going to go have coffee, you know? Right. I find that it's actually in doing very simple things together that there's great conversation. Exactly. And that fuels me. So whether or not we live right across the way from a state park, we'll go on little hikes. They like to just go and skip rocks at the river. Yeah. And those are the things. They are the things. And even because my kids are all older and in their 20s,
it's the same thing. My favorite time is mealtime with them, but we love going for walks. If we can go play a game of tennis together or we go for a hike together, it's the conversation. It's just being with them. Being with them.
And you forget that sometimes those things are just the excuse to connect.
Yes.
You know? And
exactly.
That's what I love.
Yeah. Did you know that last year over 5 billion pounds of meat were imported and sold in the U.S.? Avoid the mystery of the meat aisle with Good Ranchers. They are the #1 source for 100% American meat you can trust to feed your family. Meat can be falsely labeled product of the USA at the grocery store, even when it's imported from other countries. Isn't that crazy? Shop confidently knowing you're getting locally raised meat from Good Ranchers instead of second-guessing at the store. Stock your fridge with easy-to-prepare, delicious meat right now at goodranchers.com. Not sure which box to choose? Try their bestseller, the Ranchers Classic. Or if you've got a hungry household, like mine, check out their Family Feast bundle. Get quality, local food you can trust and feel proud to feed your family. Go to goodranchers.com and use my code CANDY to claim over 25 pounds of free chicken today. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered. Okay, we have a question from Samantha. She said, my first child's about to turn 1 and my career is taking off. I love it, but I'm so busy. And I'm constantly overwhelmed with pressure and expectations, mostly my own, to be fair. But as I read through my Bible chronologically, I keep noticing this overarching theme of control jumping out to me. God is in control. When we try to take control over everything, it can go wrong. And I've really been struggling with this since my son was born. So she doesn't really have a question, but I think she just wants some life advice and commentary. So I think a lot of us struggle with control. Has there ever been a time in your life when you struggle with control, or whether it has to do with your family or just your own personal life?
I mean, look, Samantha, I don't claim to have all these things figured out, right? I'm a musician by trade, so I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a philosopher.
Me either.
But I will say this, but I journey with you. And that's what makes us friends. That's what makes us common. Look, life throws some very interesting curveballs, and busyness is probably the most tricky one, I think, from what I've figured out, lived, is one of the most difficult things to navigate. Yeah. And I think what I would say is, always have grace for yourself. You're a working mom with children. I mean, that is a lot. But I would say find ways to figure out for you to feel like you've got some space, that you can have times to go do some of the things that we were just talking about. One of the things that, and this is just a book that I read many years ago called The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. And I love that book. It's a difficult read in some cases because you start to see a lot of the ways that the enemy can distract us. And one of the things that really got me is he's in the book, he says, hey, they've become a Christian. We've lost that war. But what if we can make them ineffective? And I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. And then he says this, and he says, so what if we make them successful? And that freaked me out when I read that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be successful and forget the things that are most important. So obviously, this is a difficult one. You've become successful, but you've also got these kids. I do think that there's something about trying to figure out things. What are the things that are life-giving to you? What are the things that are life-giving to your kids? Find out what those things are that you can create that margin in, and then try to really protect those with all that is in you. And, and then once again, wake up the next day and try to practice grace once again.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know that for me, control, I mean, I feel like I'm the queen of control, at least trying to control everything. And you realize very quickly that you can't.
That's right.
But it's a choice that I try to make every day to completely surrender to God. God, here's what my day has planned. However, I just surrender it to you from the start of the morning and go, but whatever you want to make happen. Change what you need to change, course correct me.
One of the things that I sing around the house a lot, and I've sung it for years, is the hymn, I Surrender All. Literally. And I've asked myself, Luke, why do you keep singing this song over and over? Well, because I need to surrender.
Yeah.
I need to kind of let go some of those things. The other thing I would say to a lot of people is we feel an incredible amount of pressure to have all of the steps, all of the things figured out. Like we've got this dream and we've got to accomplish all of this to get to our dream. Sometimes we just, Frozen 2 has a wonderful song on there. All right. You're going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but there's a song on there that talks about just do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we overcomplicate our lives to where if we surrender and just do the next right thing, just take that next step. We know about that next step. We don't know 100 steps ahead of us, but if we can just do the next right thing, it relieves a lot of the pressure of life. Because if we're always just content, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, A, and then B, who knows what today, God might have some wild adventure for us today. But if we just look at, hey, you know what? I need to go and do this next. Yep. Do that next thing with faithfulness. I think remarkable things take place in that.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that. Okay. We're busting through these questions. This is from Elsie. She says, I think, Luke, you're going to have some good advice for this. How do I deal with a family member who can sometimes be rude and bossy? Now, I'm not saying anyone in particular is rude and bossy in your family, but
I think you might be. I think you might be, Candace.
But you come from a really big family. So whether it's outside family, big families have their challenges. So do small families for that.
Once again, I am not a family therapist, but I do have a big family. And I'm a big believer in you just talk about things.
Yeah, me too.
You just go to those people and say, hey, when you do this, it just makes me feel like this.
Yeah.
And what I often find is you don't always get the exact result of all of a sudden that person is no longer bossing me anymore.
Yeah.
But they're a work in progress. And I remember listening to a sermon on honesty. And I remember going, man, I'm a really honest person. I don't lie ever, And then this pastor starts going through what it means to be honest. And he goes, whenever you fired someone, did you give them the real reason? When you have a problem with a sibling, did you tell them actually what was going on? And I realized I'm like, I am a liar. You know what I mean? And so my point is in family, there's a lot of really difficult dynamics, right? And I come from, a lot of siblings. But if I talk about it, even if that person's shocked, or even if that person might even be slightly hurt, resolving the conflict and the process of actually resolving that conflict makes me tremendously closer to that sibling. So it's like that with our spouses. It's the same thing. I was like, honey, I need to talk to you about something. And sometimes it's a hard conversation, but through the discussion, through being honest, you actually look back and you're like, wow, we're just so much closer. So I think is it Elsie? Is that what she said? I would say, look, those are hard things and God bless you in those conversations, but I would have that conversation and say, hey, this is just the way it makes me feel. And you can do it in the sweetest, kindest of ways. And then, who knows where it goes from there. But I think at first and foremost, I think you got to start with honesty.
For sure. And actually my podcast season right now, we're talking all about emotions with Jenny Allen. Yeah. And so we go through all of them and we talk so much about connecting with others and talking about how you feel. And I feel this way when I'm, in conflict with you or the way you have said that has made me feel sad. It's kind of some of it feels like basic therapy, but it's been a great conversation. So tune into the season if you want to know about how to navigate some of that conflict with your emotions and the dialogue and the tools that you can have through dialogue to maybe make those conversations even more comfortable. But I agree. You just gotta open up. I know some people don't like conflict and they have a hard time, but the honesty through that is the best thing that you can do.
And I would say this, once again, giving yourself some freedom and some grace. Family's messy. I always say this, people are always like, oh, you seem to come from such a great family. I was like, we're a functionally dysfunctional family. We fight really hard for the word functional in front of it.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is.
Like growing up on a tour bus. I mean, maybe you didn't grow up on a tour bus, but you're on a tour bus a lot with your family. I mean, how do you navigate conflict in small spaces?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
But part of, once again, I think a lot of it comes down to honesty. I mean, I've been accused. There's probably some people in the room that would say that this is true, of being a little messy. And so occasionally on the bus, you have to take maybe I am messy. I gotta pick it up a little bit, you know, and you just have to. Yeah. I think that one of the things I've realized is feelings and emotions are wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. And feelings should never be ignored, but they should not always be trusted. Mm-hmm. And so when someone comes to me and makes you feel like this, it's like, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I need to do something. I need to actually act and do something about it. But a lot of it starts with communication. A lot of this starts with talking. Thankfully, you know, hopefully on the bus, I've literally almost lived on a bus my entire life. So I've kind of figured out. And the way it is your bunk, your one little space. You can make that one little space as messy as you like. Just don't make everybody else's place as messy as you want. So
that's good. That's good life advice.
That's right. There you go.
It really is. In talking about the movie Unsung Hero, I think there are several unsung heroes throughout the movie, but for me, I think because I'm a mom and you see the dynamic of what your mom did within the family, I would love for you just to share a little bit about your mom. Because then we have a couple mom questions after this.
My mom, I could almost get emotional talking about my mom because I love her so much. My mom, my mom taught me right from wrong. She taught me about forgiveness. She taught me about Jesus. She taught me about all the things that actually matter in life come from my mom. I mean, she just was, you know what, people often said, hey, Luke, you come from a big family. Like, how did that work as being one of seven? And I've said this, I said, my mom was not a perfect mom. She made mistakes. But when I needed my mom, she batted 1,000. It was just, she had this intuition of Luke struggling. I'll take a little extra time with Luke. It was an amazing, amazing gift. Still to this day, I've said this, but the 2 girls, 5 boys in the middle. If my mom walks in the room, you will pretty much see all 5 of those boys particularly go up and give her a kiss on the cheek. There is a reverence and a respect and honor for her that is a really, really tangible, very, very real.
So let me ask you this, because I bet there's some moms listening and they go, I want to be that mom so badly. How do I do that?
Yeah. I think that she just, I don't know if my mom always had the right speech, but she was there. She showed up for me.
Yeah.
I think that's what we realize is what I'm realizing more and more as parents. Like, look, I want when my kid comes to me, I mean, I had a moment with my middle son once, and he was having an issue with, he has a little bit of scoliosis in his back, and his back was bothering him. And I said, hey man, these are the things that we pray about. And he goes, cool, tried that, doesn't work for me. And you're like, well, I need to come up with a really great speech right now,
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily always happen.
Yeah.
So I was with him. We talked through it. And obviously I talked about, hey man, the way that you pray is you petition God. So it doesn't happen right away, but you keep knocking. Any father like me listens to that. That's what we have in a Heavenly Father. My mom had a way to sit with us in our struggle. I'll never forget. I told her the first time I told her that I loved my now wife. My wife was sick. My wife has a story of she died from a disease, and it was only a year or 2 after that disease, and she was just getting stronger. And a lot of people had said, hey, she would never have kids. And then this sickness, they weren't sure if it would just keep coming back. And they weren't sure, the jury was out. And I'll never forget, I sat up on my mom's, in her room, and I was like, I just want to take care of her. I love her. And my mom never said anything in that conversation, but I felt so loved by my mom. I felt so seen by my mom. She was there. I think I cried a little bit. She could just patted my back. And so I think sometimes we feel the pressure as parents to have like the perfect thing to say. Most of it just has to do with us just being with them, because when things happen, struggle is guaranteed in this world. We just need to be parents that when the struggle happens, we don't panic, and that we say, I'm here. We'll work through this together. Yeah.
Feels like an anchor. You have an anchor.
That's right.
You're making me emotional. I'm like, I hope I'm that for my kids.
You are. I know your kids. They love you.
No, but I'll never forget. And I shared this already, but it was like, we were having a discussion and Lev was like, well, Mom, I remember the times that you weren't at my hockey games. And it was like devastating. I'm like, but what about all the times I was? Yep. But they always seem to remember when you're not there also. Yeah. But I'm sure there's also good times.
That's right. That's right. I think sometimes my mom used to say this, and I'll tell you this because I think it's one of the things that I found an amazing quote from my mom that she probably doesn't even realize she said, but she used to say this, and I think it's good for kids to have to learn how to overcome hard things. But so when I grew up playing sports, and whether or not it was like the baseball game got rained out, or I was going to a friend's house and they got sick or I got sick and it cancels. And, you know, as a kid, when something cancels, it's one of the hardest things to overcome. Because they're like, I planned on spending time with them. And my mom used to say, she said, Luke, are you disappointed? And I'd say, yeah, I'm disappointed. And she'd say, it's good to learn how to overcome disappointment.
That is so great. That is so wise.
So I would say that to Lev,
too.
To Lev, hey man, yeah, I missed some things, but it's good to learn how to overcome even your disappointment when your mom's not there at a hockey game.
Why did I not know your mom 10 years ago or 15?
Well, you didn't have the Candace Cameron Bure podcast then.
I know. I love that though. That's actually like, that's going to be my takeaway from today, honestly.
That's what I try to teach my kids. It's like she used to always say, another one, you can edit this out if you want, but another one she used to say was, she would say, I'm not very concerned about how you behave when everything's going your way. I'm very concerned about how you behave when things are not going your way.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a great challenging question. Yeah. I love that. Well, we're going to wrap up with one final question here. Because again, I can't wait for people to see the film and learn more about your family's story and really how you guys dealt with all of the challenges, which I'm so grateful for you sharing this advice with us today, because I know these conversations are going to help people and the movie's really going to encourage you. And, you know, we always are facing problems in life, but a lot of them feel so ordinary when it's not the massive ones. It's not a diagnosis of a problem. It's not even like the loss of a job, or financial stress. Sometimes we can just lose joy in the mundane. Yeah. And maybe not feeling like we have a purpose like I'm just kind of waking up and I'm going through life and it just feels the same every day. And so Elizabeth has asked us, how do we find joy in the mundane in life when it doesn't feel glamorous or like people are cheering you on?
Well, what was her name again?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Man, my heart goes out to those questions because I feel that, even though people would be like, but you do glamorous things. I think it's the ordinary things that produce extraordinary people. So if this is the laundry at the house, or if this is the normal moments, you know, raising kids. I've often said this, we in the Western world, and this is part of what this movie is about, we really celebrate the people that are up on the stage, the people that, you know, are doing these types of things. But my mom and so many other people in my life that did very seemingly insignificant, unsung hero like things that they're just nobody cared, are the things that have given me fuel to do the things and given me the perspective to do the things right now. One of my favorites, Brother Lawrence, he wrote the book called Practicing the Presence of God. Yep. It's probably considered one of the most impactful books ever written. Do you know what he did by trade? He was a cook. His whole life was spent making food as a cook. We sometimes think that it has to be things that are significant that do something for other people. But man, in the mundane, one of the things I would say is, man, ask God for joy. Just ask God for the joy in the mundane thing. I have learned so much more about prayer in the last couple of years, and that I wish I had known many, many years ago. If I'm stressed about something, God, I don't know why I'm stressed about this. All of a sudden, there's a levity to the moment. And it's not always like immediate, like, oh, all of a sudden everything's fine. But I feel like someone else is shouldering that with me.
Yeah.
God, I lack joy today. One of the things that I would hope is on my gravestone would be blah, 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 blah. One of the most joyful people I've ever met. I desire to have joy, but you have to practice joy when it's insignificant. Because then when you practice joy when it's insignificant, when it's significant, you'll have it also.
That's so good, Luke. It really is. I'm going to end it right there.
Okay.
That was beautiful. I really hope that our little conversation here has encouraged you today, and also to go and watch this film, because you're just gonna hear that much more.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
Thank you
from a pretty great family.
Thank you for being a friend for many, many years. And Eugene Peterson has a quote where he says, following Jesus is like a long obedience in the same direction. And you are in that same direction, in a long obedience. And I cheer you on. Honored to be your friend. Luke. And thankful for the time that we get to chat today.
Yeah, thanks. To see more about Unsung Hero, go to unsunghero.movie. And if you want our current Unwind guide, all about emotional health, go to Candace.com, where you can also ask listener questions like the ones Luke answered for us. Until next time, be grateful all day, every day. Candy Rock Entertainment, all rights reserved.